Good afternoon and welcome to BizTech's Asian Midday Market Watch. Our guest today is Jeff Halley, Senior Market Analyst Asia Pacific at OANDA. Hi Jeff, good to have you on the show again.
Yeah, thanks. Always great to be here, mate.
Now, let's take a quick look at how markets in the region have been performing, and we're going to start with cryptocurrency. We've got Bitcoin at 45,471, so it's run up quite a bit. It's up 4.3%. Ethereum has gone up to 3,099. It's up 4.88%. So basically, in about the last 3 weeks, it has gone up more than 50%, which is something interesting we need to probably talk about. Now, if we look at markets across the region, Bursa Malaysia is closed today for a public holiday. We've got the SGX, which is at 3,195.34. It's up 0.57%. Nikkei is at 27,841.79. It's up 0.08%. The Shanghai Composite is at 3,489.74. It's down 0.14%. The Hang Seng is, however, up at 0.29% at 26,359.72. And rounding up the numbers, in the positive territory, we have the ASX 200, which is at 7,551.4. It's up 0.17%. So overall, positive markets across the region, with the exception of Shanghai, Jeff.
Not quite. Without being trying to disagree with you, the Kospi is also down I think 0.75% today. A tech company, Crafton, I think they're a game maker. I hadn't looked it up completely. Had an IPO today and it's fallen immediately on debut, and I think that's dragged that down. Taipei's lower and Jakarta are lower. I think Singapore has risen today because they've effectively reopened if you're vaccinated, and that's lifted sentiment concerns, and very much so in China, because that would be a game changer if it's spread markedly in the mainland. Also that regulatory risk, so that's going to permanently dampen spirits there for the time being. But also we have the US CPI tomorrow night. Now, we had some Fed governors coming out overnight being quite hawkish. We saw the JOLTS job openings climb above 10 million open jobs in the United States. That follows a strong non-farm payrolls on Friday. So this whole tapering argument seems to be getting closer to fruition now, particularly with these governors speaking. I think this is starting to weigh on Asian equities because, as we know, Asia is in no place ready to start tightening monetary policy in conjunction with the US if it starts tapering. Now, that divergence in monetary policy could potentially weigh on both the currencies in Asia and equities going into the fourth quarter.
But Jeff, isn't the bigger concern really the Delta variant in Southeast Asia, especially in ASEAN? Because yes, you have Singapore, which vaccination is at a 70% mark. They're opening up. Malaysia, which says that despite being hit very badly with around an average of 17 to 20,000 cases a day, by 31st August, more than 60% of the adults should be vaccinated. By the end of October, it is estimated that 100% of adults, or 80% of the population, is going to be vaccinated. But then we've got Indonesia, we've got issues in Thailand, we've got issues in the Philippines as well.
Yeah, look, and some of these other countries too, Cambodia, Myanmar, Laos, all across ASEAN, shall we call it, and Australia as well, where their problems are very well documented too. I think this is definitely weighing on sentiment in the region. I think that's another reason I say that Asia's in no position to start normalizing monetary policy. They don't really have a lot of room to move either. Rates are pretty much at record lows right across the region. Now, if the US starts tapering and bond yields start rising there, that's going to put pressure on the dollar and probably weigh on Asian equities as well, or emerging markets in general, if we start seeing this divergence. So I think it's a combination of these two factors, but definitely I totally agree with you. With the exception of Singapore, this Delta variant is definitely weighing on sentiment. And we saw today also that apparently Prime Minister Suga in Japan is going to ask for a 270 billion stimulus budget in September to try and offset the effects of the virus in Japan as well.
Yeah, and the US Senate will be voting on the $1 trillion infrastructure bill tomorrow as well. So will that then have expectations where all boats will float with the tide in Asia if that is passed through?
I think it will be a positive for US markets, particularly growth stocks. I think, the Russell 2000, the Dow Jones will probably see the most benefit from that. I'm not sure it will really flow through to Asia at the moment. I mean, it's a much trimmed down bill, and it only actually, only when you say only, it's a strange old world, only contains 550 billion of brand new spending under the headline 1 trillion number. But I'm not quite sure that will have a meaningful effect in Asia because, as you said, it's this Delta variant. It's what it means for US monetary policy are probably going to be the more important factors, and neither of those factors will be bullish for Asian markets.
The other thing that the Delta variant is going to impact really is overall growth and therefore demand for oil. Where do you see oil prices heading in the short term?
Yeah, there's been some real divergence in asset classes in the last 24 hours over this, whether you're concerned about Delta or whether you're concerned about monetary policy. And we've seen currencies, bonds, commodities, and precious metals all heading their own ways because of this. Oil markets are definitely putting more emphasis on the Delta variant and its potential impact on oil consumption going forward. And we can see that reflected in oil markets, which remain very, very soft at the moment. I think that will continue definitely for the rest of the week. I think it's a valid concern, and it will, particularly with China. And I think we need to monitor China very closely because that would be a game changer for the global recovery, if we want to call it that, although I call it a very differentiated global recovery. If cases spike there and there has to be mass movement controls and lockdowns, and that torpedoes China growth in the third and fourth quarters, that would be a game changer for this global recovery trade, would be a huge negative for oil prices.
Now, Jeff, data calendar is a bit light this week, but is there anything, key things that we should watch out for?
It is very light. I think the all roads lead to this US CPI tomorrow night. If we get a print well above 5% for the headline number, above 5.5%, sorry, above 4.5% core, this tapering noise is going to turn into a deafening crescendo, given the other elements that we've seen in the story over the past few days. So, I think that will maybe even start causing US rates to start rising finally, and a repricing of the yield curve. So I think if we see a very high print tomorrow, it's going to be a big negative for emerging market currencies. We will see a stronger dollar out of that, and this tapering noise means that the September meeting will definitely be a live meeting with regards to that.
Now, Jeff, as always, thanks for coming on the show.
My pleasure, Brian.
Now, we've been speaking to Jeffrey Halley, the Senior Market Analyst, Asia Pacific at OANDA on BizTech's Asian Midday Market Watch. I'm Brian Fernandez. Our videos will be on our Facebook and LinkedIn sites, as well as our website, www.biztech.asia. Please don't forget to like and subscribe to our various platforms. Thanks again for tuning in.